Good evening, everyone. Michael Devine here for another installment of Gray Matters Raider. I'm your host, Michael Devine. I am America's counselor, the guy trying to put back together Republicans and Democrats. It's kind of like a bad divorce out there, right? The kids caught in the middle, and so who else but me? Kind of try to find some common ground. I know it's a tall drink of water on that one, tall order, but someone has to do it, right?
Well, I don't think it's going to be Mike Bloomberg. Speaking of gray matter, you don't need a lot of that to be a farmer or work in a factory.
Well, I don't know. I mean,
talk about a uniter.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things, I mean, we might have Hillary Clinton actually now being his running mate, so that might, I guess, make things better. Did you hear about that?
I did hear about that.
Yeah.
I'm interested to get your opinion on. I mean, what are your thoughts? Do you think it's just a rumor? Do you think there's some traction to that?
I think there's some traction. I mean, I think at first glance, it actually, I don't know if I necessarily thought it was a bad idea.
Yeah.
I think it was just one of those things where I was just like, okay, all right, well, this is interesting.
Right now, everyone's denying, this is true at all. Which, of course, that's kind of the status quo. Everyone's denying, no truth to this, and until it is true. So
yeah, personally, I think it's kind of like my what the fuck moment of like, wow, Hillary Clinton. I think it's. If it is serious, I don't think it's like serious.
Yeah.
I really think they're probably trying just to kind of maybe test what would happen.
Yeah.
And it was funny. I did like an informal poll of a lot of my followers who were very ardent Hillary Clinton supporters, and I couldn't find a one who thought it was a good idea.
Really?
Yeah. Every single one of them were like, just no, just no.
Okay.
Yeah.
I got to say this on a little bit of a lighter side. I mean, not really, but it kind of is. We always do a lot of joking around. I always, I give Hillary a hard time too, but I give all the politicians a hard time.
You got to.
I love giving the political dynasties like the Clintons and the Bushes and things like that. I love giving them hard times.
Well, you have to. I mean, come on.
They write their own stuff, but I got to say, with the Clinton body count, whether you believe it or not, a lot of people associated with the Clintons over the years have ended up meeting an untimely demise. Right? You don't hear that necessarily about the Bushes or the Obamas or the Trumps, but you keep hearing that about the Clintons. If you're Mike Bloomberg and you take Hillary on as your VP, and let's say
it's like House of Cards,
you defeat Trump.
Yeah.
All jokes aside, do you really want to be the guy who is standing between Hillary and being president? That your life is the one that is stopping her from getting that she will stop at nothing. But you're the one going, boy, nothing happens to you. Now, I understand he's the president. So before anyone starts sending me hate mail, I am just half joking. But seriously, would you want to be the one that, should something happen to you, should you accidentally perish, that she will, be what she always wants to be, which was president? I don't know if I'm Mike Bloomberg, I'm going to be a little bit nervous at night. I'm a little nervous.
It's one of those. The whole Mike Bloomberg thing perplexes me because I've tried talking to several people who are New Yorkers themselves, and I'll be damned, I cannot find a single person who likes Mike Bloomberg, points to anything that they think that he did well. I mean, you and I before the show were talking about, it seems like ever since that Giuliani left, I mean, crime, homelessness, it seems like a lot of it's gone downhill. So I don't know. It's perplexing to say the least. Now, mind you, this guy, he entered the race late. He hasn't been properly vetted, which is what's happening now with his past comments that have been made. He hasn't even been in a debate yet. So if he makes the most recent debate, that'll be his only chance before Super Tuesday.
Just to educate us and myself as well, what does he have to do now at this point? I know they kind of changed the rules because he's at 100% self-funding, which on one hand, I think that's fantastic.
Yeah.
On the other hand, it's kind of scary that he's that rich, but whatever. That's a whole other story, right? What does he have to do now at this point to get into the debates and to really kind of...
I got to look at the exact... I believe you have to be in double digits, and 3 out of the 4 polls are the big ones. Because what it was before was that you'd had donors. He's self-funded. There were no donors.
Well, they have to, that's a good thing. I think it's a good thing, though, that they are changing the system to be more inclusive, especially with someone who is self-funded. I mean, it's terrible. It's terrible that you have to spend $100 million or $500 million or whatever it is to run for president.
Yeah,
I mean, I know that's terrible, but it is what it's fact as it is. If you want to be taken seriously, I mean that's
the one thing that he has on Trump that Trump said he would do that didn't was I'm a billionaire, I don't need to fund it, and then he ended up getting every bit as many like independent donors. So Bloomberg actually legitimately is actually shunning donors. Like you literally cannot donate to him if you wanted to. So it's going to be interesting. So because now if he hits the numbers with the polls, then he'll be in the next debate, which will be the only debate before Super Tuesday. So for once, you're going to get a chance to see what he does against everybody else. It's going to be an interesting record to run on because, once again, I'm struggling to find people who actually like him. It seems like everybody who likes him are just people who hate all the other candidates, like the idea that he's a billionaire and self-funded, and don't know anything about him.
Who does that sound like? Does that sound like someone else you knew 4 years ago that was running?
Well, I mean, Trump was a fake billionaire, so I mean, if you're saying him, then I guess Trump. But
I understand it, but calling yourself a billionaire sounds better than a millionaire. And I understand, fortunes can go up and go down, but depending on the stock market. But let's be honest, it does sound better to refer to yourself as a billionaire versus a millionaire. And if the fact that you're even in the conversation or even in the neighborhood of even possibly being considered a billionaire, I think you're doing pretty good. All bankruptcies aside.
It's going to be interesting.
Business bankruptcy.
It's definitely easily takes the cake of our what the fuck moment, right? The number 2 of the week of our what the fuck was, have you been reading the latest news about how now scientists now are very much strongly concluding that the Wuhan virus, the coronavirus, actually they think did come accidentally from a Chinese lab. Now, this is, I remember we were talking with Dan, right? And it's like, well, trying to figure out, he goes, it didn't really hold water, that it just came, they were able to figure it out so quickly. Do you know that if you had to guess, how far away do you think that lab, that not top secret, but their testing lab, how far away do you think it was from that market where they said they found it? If you had to guess, just a wild guess.
Is it close or far?
It's close. If you to guess how close?
Like 12 blocks.
300 yards.
That's awesome.
3 football fields.
And this is from where? From like a major city or something?
That's where, in Wuhan, where the virus is found, right?
No, it's Wu-Tang.
I'm sorry, Wu-Tang. My bad, guys. So the live market, where they said that, because it was a live market where they basically kill live animals so they're super fresh.
Oh, okay.
That's where they said they found it, right?
Okay.
But then a lot of the rumors were that, because in Wuhan was where they were actually doing all the coronavirus and SARS testing, right? And that the damn lab is only 300 yards away from the market. Wow. Yeah. So it was
like something out of The Stand.
Yeah. It now, I think some people are saying that, not indicating that it was purposely set, but the way that this virus is attacking the human body and how it's mutating, there's evidence that maybe that this thing was actually engineered. And so it's just interesting. I'm just like, what the fuck, China? Like, really? Like,
well, what's scary about that is if in conventional warfare, I mean, that's what it's created for, is for potential warfare. You can unleash a super flu on your enemy or something like that, and hope it doesn't catch your own population.
Hopefully not, right?
Right. But with that could be released, and luckily they were able to trace this back, but like that could be released secretly by China or Russia or the United States or some country, some country releasing it on their own country just to blame another country to go to war for an excuse.
Oh, yeah.
Right. But the thing is, that's what we should really be concerned with. I mean, we're worried about cyber terrorism. We're worried about certain countries getting nuclear weapons, and those are obviously legitimate
you
concerns.
Stole my what the fuck moment number 3.
Sorry.
So in Germany, a group of policemen, former government workers were arrested for having a plot to start a civil war. They literally had it to where they were going to be blackmailing, goading, like basically doing anonymous violence against politicians, media people. And they had it, they had a whole set up to where they're trying to fakely attack people to get to pit them against each other to start a civil war.
What was did they say? What was the name of the group?
There was no group. All they said it was former policemen, former.
Were they doing it in the name of anarchy, or
they wanted to create a civil war to upend the power structure? So they're not releasing a lot about it. All they said was that they made lots of arrests. It was like 12 arrests or something.
And these people were hoping to
Yeah, they wanted to start. They had a whole plan to start a civil war.
Back in the '60s when the whole thing with Manson went down, I'm sure you know that he was hoping when he committed those crimes, the Tate LaBianca murders, was he wanted to believe frame African Americans in hopes of starting a race war. Yeah, I don't know if he thought a race war was inevitable or whatever, but he wanted to start one, and that's why they were hiding out in that place out in the desert, because that was going to be like their last stand, like their home front headquarters, like in the apocalyptic times that they were going to.
Apparently.
And then when the dust settled, because he's obviously the sharpest tool in the shed, Charles Manson was then going to emerge in this, in the new world as the leader, and was going to run shit. This was after his, of course, his music career didn't
I think a lot of it, I think when people get to a certain place, I think they start really kind of going, you know what, maybe civil war is the only reason, that's the only thing that's going to solve it. I
do think that the civil war is probably, I don't know if it will happen in our lifetime, I do think it is inevitable in just about any major society at some point in time. It just...
All right, so you are on point tonight. You literally, every time I'm going to do a segue into the next thing, you totally... this nail it. We're just simpatico tonight, man.
Well, I didn't want to really tell you this, but I'm going to go ahead and say this. I'm psychic.
You are?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah, that word that happened during all the Bears games and Reds games. You'd think that you would have applied that to that, but that's a different show.
You think I would apply that to higher education or gambling or just anything in general? No,
just random thoughts I'm bringing up in my podcast tonight. Yeah. So tonight, so this is something that, as I said, I've been really excited to dive into a lot of these shows because, as I said at the beginning of the year, we're going to dive into a lot of research and just, structures show up a little bit differently. Put a little more, not effort into it because I think we put a lot of effort, but just
I don't know, there was
really
some lollygagging going on in 2019.
Deep dive,
here. Yeah.
So one of the things I've been wanting to cover, and I think probably the thing that bothers me most about the current state of our politics is it's not just polarization, but it's more hypocrisy.
Say what?
I know.
I
know it's crazy, right? Because a lot of people are always like, it's amazing to me on Facebook and Twitter, and I'll make a comment about something, and literally, without even knowing what my viewpoint is, they'll go, well, so what? It was okay when Clinton did it? I'm like, well, I go, listen. I remember the one that really got me, like, I want to do a show on this was during the State of the Union when I was knocking on Pelosi, right? Yeah. They go, what? So Trump, I go, hey guys, I cannot like Trump and Pelosi at the same time. I go, that's the beauty of being an independent. I can dislike both of them if I want. I can like both of them if I wanted to.
Well, that's the problem. You and I have always talked about that is they have divided this country, and they meaning the people that stand to benefit.
Yeah. Whoever they are,
whoever you think
they with a capital T.
Either you're with us
or you're against us. Right.
And again, you run as a third party candidate, then everyone will call you. Oh, look at this quack. Why are you going to be a quack when you run on a third party? Why is that? Why can't you just look at Ross Perot?
Yeah,
he was probably the most quote unquote legitimate third party candidate that we've
and he
seen.
Would have won if he didn't drop out the first time.
Well, at least in this in the last century. I don't know about in the olden days. I'm sure they had lots of, when the Whig Party was still around, they had probably lots of third-party candidates back then. But, you know what I'm saying, though? Like, when was the last...
Andrew Jackson was a basic bitch.
Gary Johnson runs every 4 years.
Yeah.
That's but what does he get, like 2% of the vote?
Does
he even
not
get
even,
that?
not even.
Poor Gary Johnson. I feel like they should put him on the debate stage just as a token gift. Man, you know what? You got this every
You've
4
earned
years.
it.
We just got to put you out there.
Who keeps giving him money, too? That's what I want to know.
Good for him. He keeps it up, but yeah, it's you're right though.
It's bad. It's like it's not good, and it's almost comical.
You either love Trump or you hate Trump.
Him.
There's no in between.
You have to pick sides, and it's like a conditioned response. You say one thing, and then there's a knee-jerk reaction. But the cool thing has been though, and I've gained followers. That literally, we had a gentleman that he goes, "You gained a new listener," literally just because like I talked to him. And it was just, I've done that like probably 4 or 5 times this week where I converted 5 people over going, I'm going to check your show out only because you didn't do what I thought you were going to do. And it started to like get me like this, how the thing that people have been asking me, like, what really bothers me about some of these things. And I think it's a hypocrisy of saying one thing at one point in time, and then when it behooves you, 5 years later, you change your score, then act incredulous when the other people are doing it. And then you see the media do it because the listeners will do the same thing. And it's like, the same shit you're complaining about is the same shit that happened 5 years ago, right? And so I'm like, we need to have a discussion about hypocrisy in this country. And not just about, all right, we all know people are hypocritical in politics, but doing a deep dive into it a little bit, like not necessarily an academic deep dive, but like going like, why is it that where we're having this issue? What is what is there to learn from it of why there's all this hypocrisy? So I did a little bit of research and everything, right? And you're mentioning of Civil War, right? One of the big things that I'm really worried about with hypocrisy are the downstream effects of it. And they did a recent battleground poll. It was sponsored by Georgetown University, and they found the average American voter believes the nation is 2/3 of the way to the edge of civil war.
Some days it feels like that,
dude. I mean, think about that. 2/3 of our country, as a result of how polarized we are, is going. I think that we're 2/3 of our country believes we are on the verge of a civil war.
Well, it's weird because things, and not just civil war, but like major events like that. And we're talking like game changers, like life changers. It feels like they get revved up certain times and they're brought back down. Like, for example, look at the whole conflict we just had recently with Iran. Mm-hmm. It looked like we were on the brink of war, the closest we probably had been since the '79 revolution. I mean, literally, I woke up every morning for like a week or two, maybe not quite that long, like a week, going, this is it.
Honey, it was, like, it felt like it,
to war. And then just, a year or two ago, I had a similar feeling, very similar, with North Korea. Mm-hmm. I'm like, there's a red line. This is it. Look, we're finally going to war. And then that kind of cooled down. I feel something similar about civil war in this country, where like something will happen. And again, there's so many different things where you start seeing people protesting. You see something going on or something terrible. Remember when we saw a couple of Republicans got shot at the softball game a couple of years ago? We saw things like that. There's always like that one.
The MAGA bomber guy trying to blow up the CNN and the MSNBC people.
You feel like you see this escalating. You're like, okay, is it going to be a tipping point?
Shootings in a synagogue.
But then it'll cool back down, and you won't hear much about civil war for like a couple months, but then something happens again, which it's due to happen any time now.
Yeah, I think
it's going to be back up, and everyone's.
I think the reality is that it's not that it actually is cooling down. It's that because we get used to it, and then so our like when you saw like what was it 2 times in 2 days, one person with a gun tried storming the White House, and then the next day someone tried blasting through the gate in at Mar-a-Lago. You get used to it almost, and
you're right.
That's the fucked up thing.
That's what
is that
with these school shootings. These mass shootings and school shootings.
Yeah.
Is
you must expect it now.
When Columbine happened, it was like obviously you stopped. It was breaking news. Everyone in America, maybe even the world, stopped and knew what they were doing at the time when that happened. And it was like, and now when you hear about a school shooting, and I'm sad to say, or a mass shooting, it's not as much. I mean, it's sad. It's equally as sad and tragic, and but it's just it's the 24-hour news cycle. Within a day or two. There's another tragedy.
Plus, when you have
20
to 30% of the people every time there's a mass shooting doesn't even think it existed.
That's insane.
They don't even think it happened. It's a false flag event.
Crazy.
But that's where
crazy.
So when we're talking about what is the effects of hypocrisy and polarization, and this is one of those things. And so when I started diving into it before the show, I told you to what are the ones that jump out at you the most, where one person said one thing, another person said another. But I know there's a lot of them, and I don't want to spend too much of the show going over it. I wanted to more kind of talk about the idea of hypocrisy, right? Because we know it's part of being a politician. People can be hypocritical, right? So, kind of dove into it a little bit. And so one of the people at the University of Virginia Center for Politics literally said, hypocrisy is the lifeblood of politics. Mm-hmm. It is the function of our extreme partisan polarization, and really it justifies anything. And if you really think about it, that is completely true. Yeah. People will justify if it's like when you have different types of hypocrisy. There's the almost short-term memory. I didn't say that, or that was so 10 years ago.
Well, it's not even the people. It's not even the politicians. I mean, you expect them to be hypocritical because they have something to lose, and there's a lot of money and power involved in politics, which is why the majority of them get into it in the first place. Maybe not in the first place, but that's why they hang around as long as they do, because they go, oh, this is pretty darn lucrative.
Yeah.
But I think it's so it's not them. I'm more intrigued by the people that back them, like blindly. Yep. It almost reminds me of having a married to an abusive husband who routinely comes home and beats the shit out of you, and he says, "Oh, I'm not going to do it anymore. I've changed," and you want to believe him, and because he's just under a lot of stress or blah blah blah, or he's working on it, and you're just like, wow, like you can't see the forest for the tree. Sometimes I feel like that.
Yeah. But that's the truth. And so and that was one of the things they actually talked about. Like they said the public cynicism has been driven by the reaction to the media, which ignore or magnify incidents without any consistency, or what we call a random schedule of reinforcement, meaning you almost don't know when they're going to acknowledge what your eyes tell you that you're seeing, or go, well, you got to look at it at an angle. And they go, in behaving hypocritically, each political tribe, that political tribalism, I'm only going to listen to this Fox News or this MSNBC or this podcast or whatever. Each political tribe can argue it is serving a greater good, the furthering of its political goals. For example, during his impeachment, Clinton's impeachment, liberal feminists stood by Bill Clinton despite his predatory history towards women. His support for women's right won him a pass from them.
Yeah.
And that's literally what women said of why they support him, because, well, yeah, he did these awful things, but he did so much for women. And so it's like there's a justification. Here's another good one. So Kellyanne Conway, she was this was like during the beginning of the campaign, and she was saying that everyone she was trying to explain away, because she said that it's not fair how much they're being attacked, but then they read off like 37 comments of them attacking others, and then instead of going, well,
that shit was different.
Yeah, she goes, well, I'm just doing my job, or by saying everyone in her business says contradictory things sometimes, or by distorting perceptions of her own behavior. I'm not actually being hypocritical. This is different. They changed the reality, or there's a different reality here. The stars and the sun and swamp gas. It's like. So once again, it's like you start hearing either there's a different reality and it's not my fault you view it that way, or, well, it's different for me, or, well, I'm justified. There's a reason for why it's okay.
It was a full moon that day, so you understand my head was
it's
not
like
in the spot. So
and they said there's a lot of things that play into it. So it's like, well, why don't politicians or media people just come out? Well, they said, well, the problem is that. And they said, and I quote, "It is pragmatic for politicians to act like hypocrites during periods of hyperpartisanship, since they otherwise might be harassed or expelled from their group for disloyalty."
Yeah. I remember, again, I gave Hillary a hard time, but she was, even in the early 2000s, she was publicly against gay marriage. Yeah. She just said, I believe it's between a man and a woman, or whatever the PC answer she tried to give it. But then, lo and behold, when she was running for president, wow, what a shocker! She changed. Now, to her credit, I'll give it to her. You are allowed to evolve in your beliefs.
Oh, absolutely.
I don't have the same beliefs. I don't hold the same beliefs I did even maybe 10 years ago.
Yeah.
A lot of them are the same, but being married now and having children, I think just things have changed. Some are more liberal, some are more conservative. It just depends on the topic, quite honestly.
That's one of the.
I'll give her a pass on that one. But part of you wonders with her and all politicians. Let's be honest. Does she now support gay marriage because she truly believes in equality? Like I've been for gay marriage for a very long time. I'm like, listen, you should be able to marry whoever you want to marry as long as everyone's willing and of age and of their mental health and can able to consent.
Yeah, that's
is she doing that because she really believes that, or is she doing that because that's what the people
that's a
want?
problem, I think, with Hillary Clinton, is that nobody knows.
That's any politician, though.
I think her in particular, though, is that she comes across as so disingenuous that you don't really know what she believes. I don't even know if she really even knows her name is Hillary. I think it's almost like she doesn't even know what's the truth anymore.
It's like when it comes to Hillary and Trump, they're almost too good at being politicians. They're almost too slick to where they come across as very disingenuous, very just
I don't know. I don't think Trump is. I don't know.
Well, I guess the businessman part of it. I guess because being a businessman, being it does have a lot of similarities, I think, to being a politician. And what I mean by that is, he had to do a lot of business deals. You meet a lot of people with power. You got to go along to get along. Quid pro quo. I know they say that, but a lot of similarities, I think, between politics and the business world, because they are linked in a lot of ways. I mean, again, how many elected officials do we know in Congress are millionaires?
Over 51%.
And how much was the average salary?
It was, oh gosh, I mean, you know what? They're as far as like the congressional salary.
Yeah.
Oh, I think it's like $200,000 a year,
Okay.
$240,000 a year, something like that.
Nothing
Still
to
pretty
sneeze
good
at.
and full benefits, lifetime.
You know,
Yeah.
you have a lot of multi-million. How many people became millionaires after they got into power?
Well, I think 51% were
Yeah.
millionaires when they
But
took office.
that should tell you right there how
Oh,
they
yeah.
are linked with. I mean, say what you want. I'm not saying they're breaking the law. Ethically, I think it's kind of messed up that you're allowed to sit on a board of directors of a company that you then vote on bills and laws on whether or not that actual company will get a contract or make like. Does anyone else see the
or when you're president, not give up, power in your own company. But I'm just saying that's just neither here nor there. But
unless he's giving contract to his own company, which he may be, and then, like I don't
hey,
care if you give up power.
what do they? How much? What do they say? How much money they're making off of just a Secret Service sting?
I think yeah, I know.
Yeah,
Well,
we're charging him at cost.
That's more hypocrisy. Is that everyone gets mad at Trump for something like that, but then when their congressman or their senator does something similar,
so
well, that's
I'm
different.
glad you said it, because that's some of the ground rules I want to set up on this one, because it's not about my guy is better, because that's one of the things they talked about is that
do it.
Well, and that's where they said one of the biggest vehicles that really make hypocrisy turn into polarization is that the level of hypocrisy is about it's a downward comparison, because I am right and you are wrong, that you are morally wrong, and not only you morally wrong, you're actually trying to do damage, and that's what really makes people then almost dig in and pick a side. Now here's where it gets interesting though, is that it's really easy for all of us to go, hey, like, you guys are being hypocritical, fucking knock it off, right? But then they go steady going, well, here's the irony, though, is that more than 80% of people who were polled agree that political leaders should strive for compromise and common ground. But in the same exact study, they also said they're tired of leaders compromising with their values and ideals and want leaders who will stand to the other side. So it's like, even in a survey, you can't. You're hypocritical in your own damn survey, right?
I saw something that the AOC she put out a statement the other day, which was talking about the health care for all.
Yeah.
Right. And they were like, we're gonna do this, and she's a backer of Bernie, and like it was like basically it's going to be a government funded health care. Like you don't have a choice. There's not going to be private insurance. Like here's what it is. This is what it's going to be. Boom. And then she came out and was like, yeah, blah, blah, blah. But realistically, we're probably going to have to compromise, and it will probably end up being like an optional thing. Either the government run one or you stick with your private insurance one.
Yeah.
And then Bernie came out and was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Like, wait a minute. That's like, no, we're not compromising. And like, wait. She's like, oh, wait, we're compromising shit. Like, everyone's like, wow, you literally just went against everying that you... I don't know. It's kind of funny. Like,
but it's, yeah.
Shit like that. Like, wow, you already are like giving up on this. Because, but she's like, well, I'm just trying to be realistic, which she probably is.
Yeah, she probably
but it
is.
was like,
can't be on it. Dare be honest.
People don't want to hear this.
Oh,
no.
Especially her types of supporters.
Well, we'll look at like the wall, for example. Trump's baby.
Yeah.
The wall. And I know there's still kind of plodding along. Like, you hear about it, but then like you don't hear about it. But then all of a sudden there's like, oh, this wall is built. And then like you don't really hear much about it. I don't know. It's almost like being built in secret in a way.
Oh, yeah,
it feels
yeah.
like. Even though everyone knows about it and we do talk about it, but I feel like you don't hear a lot about it. Every once in a while there'll be a report, but I feel like, imagine if it was like if Trump had to concede right from the start. Well, we're probably only going to put up like half the wall. Like, well, son of a bitch, why even build the fucking wall? If you're a Trump supporter, like, no, you need the wall all the way around it. If you have a prison and you're trying to keep someone in or you're trying to keep someone out, you need it all the way around, not just like 2/4 or 3/4.
Well, this is where, and all right, well, let's start diving in
Sure.
here. Okay, so so okie dokie. All right, so once again, real lastly, like the thing, and once again, like the thesis, I guess, of the show today is it's not just about polarization and hypocriticalness. It's about how is it affecting. As I said, 2/3 of the country already feels as though that we're pretty much on the verge of a civil war. But the one that really, when you look at one of the professors in the study says, we're seeing a point at which calling into question whether our institutions can function the way they were intended to function in a polarized age. And so literally things are getting so incredibly acrimonious, the hypocriticalness, the polarization as a result. We're literally getting to the point of where more of the country feels as though we're closer to a revolution. We have political science professors basically questioning whether or not our government can even function, period, in this. We know our government doesn't serve us. We know it's profoundly bought off by the wealthy, and it's like it's not working for us, but yet we are so completely pitted against each other that we can't even agree that we're both being fucked. We both think the other side's fucking us, and it's like, I'm not doing any fucking. Like, I'm getting fucked. How can you be getting fucked and I'm getting fucked? How's it I'm doing the fucking? I'm getting fucked. Like, it's not Dutch door action. And that's where I feel like, and I get frustrated, where it's like everyone is pointing the finger that it's your fault and you're the one doing it. And it's like, no, we are all equal getting fucked here. And that's the thing we have to realize. And so, we have to stop this, and we have to understand that it's human nature. We have other people basically massaging our worst impulses against us, and both sides are doing it. So now I'm going to flip a coin here, all right?
I'll say it reminds me of like a draw in chess.
Yeah.
When you're down to like two pieces left, and you move them, and you no matter where you go, no one's going to go in a bad spot where the other one. So you're just like, that's what reminds me of politics when it comes to electing officials. Okay, Republican or Democrat, you get two choices. Well, you can go this way, well, then they just go back this way. Well, they just go back. You know what I mean? And it's like nothing ever changes. Nothing ever really changes because everyone's making the same move over and over again.
Oh, yeah.
And not willing to take a risk or willing to change it up. That's what's going on in Washington right now. So, like, yeah, you might have a Democrat take a Republican, spot here, or a Republican might slide into governor in a previously blue state. But long term, it's like you said, there's a lot of gridlock. It's just
it is,
people aren't willing to compromise, and I understand because some of this shit is fucked up. Some of the things, whether you're a liberal or a conservative, some of the things that some of these politicians want to do, man, they're real head scratchers. Like the lady that wanted to force. I want to talk about this real quick. The lady that wants to force vasectomies on men. Now I know she doesn't actually want to force vasectomies, but her just to bring this up and introduce this bill. That should be your what the fuck moment. But we'll talk about it another time.
Yeah, so all right, so let's all right, so I have it broken down into 3 types of categories, all right? I have Democrat, hypocritical. That's all things Democrat. That could be celebrities, environmentalists, politicians. I have Republicans. Pretty much that could be Trump, that can be politicians. But then I have religious right in their own category because their hypocriticalness is my favorite. Okay, now I didn't I did do some with Trump, and you know what? If we get to it, we get to it. I mean, literally everybody knows the things that he's completely hypocritical about. So if we have time, we'll go over that. But we're gonna stick with our suspects. So let's do paper, scissors, rock. All right.
Okay.
If I win, we'll say Republicans go first. If you win, we'll say Democrats go first. All right. Okay. And then religious right we'll stay for last because they're the best. All right. Ready?
Okay.
Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Sorry. Try again.
1, 2, 3. Oh, all right.
All right.
So Republicans are going first on the chopping block. So, Bill, do you want to lead off? Do you want me to kind of roll this one?
No, you start.
All right. So, So I got a lot of them. I'm probably not going to do all of them. All right. But I'm going to try to pick my personal favorite ones, the ones that I think chat my ass the most. But so I want to go over the Neil Gorsuch nomination / Merrick Garland unnomination. So for those you don't remember, towards the end of Obama's term, Scalia died. We're not sure what he was doing. Apparently he just, there were some conspiracy theories, but he died. Obama was like, all right, we're going to nominate Merrick Garland. He's a moderate. He's a good dude, right? Because Scalia was more of a moderate kind of conservative. And Mitch McConnell said pretty much the voters should have a say in basically the voters should have a say. The election should basically tell us who we should nominate. So if Trump wins, that means then that means the people want the Senate to pick a Republican.
Yep.
If the Democrats win, that means then the people want, and then so surprisingly somehow they were in minority power. Somehow they were able to get enough votes to basically this filibuster this thing to where election came and went, and then Trump got elected, and then of course they elected our boy Neil Gorsuch, right? Now, when this was towards the end, now this is when what's her name? She was sick. Oldest
Sandra Day O'Connor.
She was sick, and there's some cancer diagnoses, and so already Republicans were kind of like chomping at the bit of like, oh, we're gonna get another one, right? So they asked him because it was getting towards it's the same time period when Obama was gonna nominate Merrick Garland, and McConnell didn't hesitate when he goes, "Oh, we would fill it."
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, no hesitation. I mean, totally saying, well, there's no way the people of the original framers of the Constitution wouldn't do that.
And Mitch
yeah,
McConnell
yeah.
weird-looking face that he makes, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, and then literally, then the irony of them when they asked him the same question, the same situation, he goes, "Oh, we would fill that." That is the type of shit that makes people's head explode, because it's like, this isn't about like governing. This isn't about what's best for the country. That was pure through and through politics. I won. I outplayed you. I'm going to outplay you again. I'm going to spike the football. I'm going to completely rub it in your face.
They're not doing what's best for what's in the country. That's
no, and there's no hiding about
I feel
it.
when you're like a freshman congressman and you get to Washington or whatever, and they're like, all right, and you're still not dealist, and you think, well, I can come here, I can make a change. I can really be the change, and then you get around like the senior Democrats or the senior Republicans that are like, listen, either you can be on our team and we can go along, or you can be a one-trick pony. You can be out of here in one term. It's up to you, because guess what? If they don't support you, and you don't support them, but if they don't support you in your re-election bid, dude, you are in big, big trouble.
Oh, yeah, dude.
And so you need to play ball. You need to get on the team, get behind whatever they're doing. And that's what it is, the gang mentality. You've said it many times on this program. And that's there it is right there, because they're like, you know what? Do you think they're really doing what's best for the country?
Oh, hell no. And then the thing is, then what do you think happens then if the Democrats were to have the power then and do what's best for the country or get back? They're going to get back. And then because of that political tribalism, the people that elected those congressmen and senators are going to demand it. That's how this cycle goes on. And so McConnell is all about winning. It's not about making America great again. No, it's about making the Republicans great again. It's about, I am playing political hardball. It is not about what's best for the country. It's just, they're not hiding the fact they have this zero-sum game of, we want to win almost every seat, and we're not going to stop playing this game until we do. Even though there's a 0% chance that's going to happen, and you're going to destroy the country in a process, it's the most un-American thing. I mean, to me, it's treasonous in a way. So that was number one on my list. All right. What made number two was the incredulousness of not necessarily the impeachment trial per se, but the incredulousness at how when Democrats tried going do the Mueller route. That one didn't work, right? So then the whistleblower came through. Then he had new life with Ukraine, and they were, Lindsey Graham and Mitch McConnell. Everybody was just like, I can't believe this. It's like they couldn't do it once, and now we're going to do it again. But then I was sitting there going, oh, so you mean like in Whitewater when you couldn't get him for Whitewater, and then in a process of Whitewater investigation, they found out he had an affair, and then they asked him about it and then trapped him and lied to him, and then they tried impeaching him on that. Oh, yeah, oh, wow,
hey,
the shoe is on the other foot.
I know.
Hey.
At least Trump was smart enough not to take...
Hey, Trump did the same thing, though, right? It was legalese. It was, Bill Clinton's was, well, based on the definition that you gave me, I didn't have sexual relations. It was a perfect phone call. I didn't directly say, all I said was, hey, I need you to do me a favor. That's all it was. It was one leader asking another leader for a favor. It was the same damn thing, all right? But once again, it's like, who are you fooling? Yeah. Maybe in a court, but the public at least most of the public understands like what went down, and it's like, call a spade a spade. You did the same thing to Clinton, right? Clinton didn't like it, but you guys did it anyway. What did you do to? What did the Democrats do? It's the same damn thing. It's like, come on, right? So that was number two on my list of the most hypocritical things, right? Number three, state rights. All right. The Republicans are all about the power of the states, right? Take away power from the big government. Don't let the government get involved in your daily life. However, though, when it comes down to money and like zoning and shit like that, well, all like tax, all that, guns, religion, the government their job is not allowed to step in there, right? But when it comes down to like moral decisions, the things that everyone should be able to make on their own. Oh, no, you can't make that. The government steps in. Or states want to legalize marijuana. No, you guys don't get to do that. So it's like, fucking make up your mind. Either the states have the right to make whatever laws that they want, and the government should stay out of your life. The government's job is just to basically I don't know, like protect you. Their job isn't to tell you how to live your life unless it's a moral, religious decision.
Yeah.
You can spend your own money however way you want, but when it comes down to morals like porn and shit like that, you can't make it. That one bugs the shit out of me. Number 4, the email server. Oh, it not only was it somehow impeachable, even if she wasn't even president, tried her 8 times, spent what was like $50 million on 8 different trials, and then it was like this I can't believe she did this, like it was reckless, the Russians could have gotten it, and then Jared and Ivanka and Pence both had private email servers that were both doing the same damn thing. Crickets, not a big deal. That pissed the shit out of me, right? The executive power, that was another one. Small government Republicans were criticizing Obama and his use of executive power because, surprise, surprise, you can't get shit done in Congress and the Senate, right? So president's going, well, fuck it, I'm going to do executive orders. They fucking lambasted him left and right? They even said his use of his little pen to govern by fiat and executive action. Oh, but when Bush and Trump do it all left. Oh, that's all fair in love and war. Obama did that. I was like, well, technically Bush did it first. But once again, it's these little things. And this is number 5. This is the last one I'm going to use on Republicans, all right? When Clinton, when Clinton basically was, I mean, I did this little study that I kind of pulled up. It was in 2011, okay? Evangelicals were polled in 2011, and they asked them about how important it is to have somebody that makes moral decisions. They defined it by a person who commits an immoral act in their personal life cannot behave ethically and fulfill their duties in their public and professional life. And so that was like the wording of the question that they asked them. And they asked them like a bunch of different ways of, and so 60% of people in 2011 of white evangelicals agreed with that statement. So 60% of white evangelicals agreed that anyone who commits an immoral act in their personal life cannot behave ethically and fulfill their duties in public and professional life. But in 2016, after the release of the Access Hollywood Grab 'em by the Pussy tape by Donald Trump, mysteriously, you know what that number went down to?
How low?
20% now.
Wow.
So there's 40. So 5 years, 40% of the people.
In their defense, though, I think part of them were thinking though too is it's not just like if the people running for president, let's say it was just 5 conservatives. Let's say there was no liberals running for president, and you only had 5 to choose from. They were all conservative, and I think that might have been different. That would have impacted Trump probably a little bit differently. But I think with the conservatives, and the same thing with the liberals too, go, well, this candidate is not perfect. This candidate has a lot of flaws. This candidate might not believe everything that I believe in. However, and we hear this now, if you don't vote for this person, the other side's going to win. Like the entire Democratic strategy right now is, if we don't band together, we have to.
Well, hold on, but we're gonna get the Democrats here. But
I'm just talking in general. I guess for both sides.
I get what you're saying.
If you don't vote for Trump, look,
well,
you got Hillary
I know,
in the White
but
House.
but the point I'm making is that. So when it was a Democrat, 60% like it is unforgivable, right?
Unforgivable.
That now, so in 2016 they did it. It was down to 20%, and by 2018 only 16.5% agreed to that statement.
Wow.
Now here's the crazy thing, right? Is that they did a study. So they basically they outlined amoral behavior that, and they ambiguously worded the behaviors to where it could have been Trump, it could have been Clinton, or an amalgamous random candidate, right? And it was something stupid like it was like 60 some odd % of the people when it was Clinton. When they used the name Clinton with that behavior, they said it was immoral and they couldn't vote for him. When it was Trump, it went down to 20%. And it was like an ambiguous person, it was like 30. So it's this whole idea that there is a prolific double standard. Barack Obama, this is my last big one, Republicans. When Barack Obama, this guy literally went to church his entire life. He said he was a Christian. He still went to church. He actually even had a home church. You had, what was like 15% of Christians thought he was a Muslim and didn't even consider him a real Christian. Trump, who has never been a religion his entire life, who was one of the most morally corrupt presidents we've ever had, gets compared to King Cyrus, and all of a sudden it's love, don't love the sin, love the sinner.
Tell me about King Cyrus.
So King Cyrus, basically, I believe it's in Hebrews. I want to say maybe it's in Hebrews. It's basically that King Cyrus is basically going to be the one that was going to liberate the Jews, and he was an imperfect person. And God picks imperfect people to basically be like.
Are you saying that God picked Trump?
Well, that's what a lot of people are saying. That people are comparing him to. He's fulfilling the prophecy of King Cyrus.
Everyone's a prophet.
But
Why
but
is everyone a prophet?
but
Come
it's
on.
as fucked as that you have people who are like literally live their whole life of being a good person, then no one even believes them if they're a Christian. You have Trump, who's never done anything Christian, has lived the most immoral, and he gets compared to a fucking prophet that's going to deliver fulfill the prophecy of Christ. It's like, doesn't that hypocrisy just like blow your mind, regardless of what side of the aisle that you're on? And then, all right, one more. All right, I'll do one more. Okay, immigration. All right. Now, this is my personal favorite. I don't. And this goes into that once again. This is that religious right. Okay, so Exodus 23:9 says, "Do not oppress a foreigner. You yourselves know how it feels to be foreigners, because you were foreigners in Egypt." Hebrews 13:2, "Do not forget to show hospitalities to strangers, for by doing that, some have shown hospitality to angels without knowing it." In Book of Matthew, where Jesus says, "Whoever welcomes one such child in my name welcomes me. And see that you do not despise one of these little ones, for I tell you that their angels in heaven always see the face of my Father in heaven." It doesn't get more black and white than Jesus himself.
Yeah, so basically you're saying love thy neighbor.
Love thy neighbor, but it's talking about immigrants. It's talking about people. It's talking about children, right? But yet somehow the religious right, the holier than thou, that says basically Obama's not a Christian for whatever reason. Bill Clinton is a serial adulterer who can never be forgiven again. Trump, who is a philanderer, cheater, and a stealer, who was never a Christian up until he ran for office, mysteriously is fucking King Cyrus. And then literally in Christianity, they talk about, you need to have freedom of religion, and it's a country found under God. But yet somehow, when Jesus is saying all these things, that then mysteriously they go to the defense of, I'm not saying I agree with the immigration policy, but I'm not a Christian, so it doesn't matter to me. But like, that's the thing that blows my mind, is that it's so hypocritical. How can you take it serious?
I agree.
And it's like, and that's the type of shit where you're going.
It's all fear politics. Again, it's all about is
that fear? I don't even know what that is.
Well, it's like if you don't elect this person, then this other person's going to be elected, and look what they stand for. Like that's the whole thought process on either side. It's not you're leading a campaign through fear. One thing I'll give with Trump, and whether you agree with it or not, I will at least say with Trump, he's saying, where he started with "Make America Great Again," which, I know that's kind of controversial, MAGA, but I thought the message in of itself was great. Now, there's a lot of people that will argue, well, America's always been great. I do think America's always been great, but it was a brilliant. It was a brilliant line. Everyone knows it.
That's the thing. I don't have an issue.
Yeah,
I have an issue with the hypocrisy of saying one thing, doing another.
But what
thing.
I'm saying is like Trump is. I think his 2020 campaign is "Keep America Great" or something, right? Where the left's motto, all of them basically mean.
I don't even know what it is.
Well, they don't have an official one, but their mindset is, we need to beat Trump.
Yeah.
We need to get him out. Not, I'm going to do this, that, and the other. No, Bernie's talking about a universal health plan, and some others are talking about major changes to the health plan. That's really about it. Like, I don't hear.
Yeah, but I would argue that Trump, his "Make America Again," was actually fear. It was fear Mexicans, fear immigration, fear Democrats, fear socialists, fear what people are trying. I mean, it was all fear.
I don't know that it was like fear immigration. I think what happened with there
when
was.
you say Mexicans are rapists, I mean, like, and we got to build a wall.
He said some Mexicans were, which is true. Some Americans are rapists. Some Canadians are rapists. Like, I understand.
Yeah, but come on, read between the lines.
I think what he's saying is, and I think the majority of people who, I agree with immigration reform. I'm of the opinion is, why can't not just immigrants, but anybody? Why can't you follow the law? You have to follow the law. I have to follow the law. And I'm not saying we can't help people. And to tell you the truth, I would like to see more immigrants come to this country. I'm just saying we need to do it legally. We need to do it responsibly. We got to do it in an orderly fashion.
Now, I agree with you.
Yeah,
but let's stay.
That's what I say. That's what I agree. I don't agree with that. We're going to be overrun. They're criminals. They're all criminals. They're going to do this. But at the same time, when you have some people on the left who want to absolutely abolish ICE.
But hold on. So now, hold on. So before, because I want to get to the Democrats.
Okay,
but,
sorry.
Let's stick to hypocrisy, right? Because, and that's what the whole point is. It's not about getting into policy, right? All it's getting into is hypocrisy. Saying one thing and you do something else. Saying one thing at one time, doing something else. So is there any other ones along the Republican side that you would say that, okay, like that's pretty fucking hypocritical?
Well, you had some pretty specific examples. I was thinking more in macro terms. I mean, again, I'm going to get probably a lot of hate for this because it's probably
that's right.
This is maybe the hottest button issue going on of anything, and it's the whole pro-life versus pro-choice.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
So I mean, again, not to hate on anyone's opinion.
Oh yeah.
But just my what I see, talking about hypocrisy from the right is, they are very pro-choice.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that's a bad thing, right? At the same time, they say, all human lives are worth something and they're very valuable, which I think they are.
Yeah.
But then they have no problem condemning a motherfucker on death row like you need to fry him. And again, I understand that these are bad hombres. I know Trump uses that term, but those and again, I also agree with capital punishment. So where does that put me, someone who is pro-life, right? But I do believe that in the death penalty, like, what does that make?
Yeah, but you're not a religious right? So it's not like you have this moral.
I'm not over religious, and I'm not trying to, and not trying to tell women what to do with their bodies. But if you're asking my personal opinion, what my feelings are, and I do think that abortion should remain legal. Yeah. Right. But my personal opinion is I don't necessarily agree with it, but I think it should stay legal because it's not my choice to make. Yeah. Right.
Well, I think even like with the abortion debate, even more egregious than is like dichotomy between like, so you believe in the death penalty, but then you believe in the right to life,
and which I do.
Yeah.
So even I'm going. I know it's hypocrisy, but like I don't know what to tell you.
I would actually say there's a bigger hypocrisy in there. That so they're talking about how every life is, we got to protect every life, but the thing is, it seems like Republicans only seem to care about a child when it's in a mother's womb. But the second that baby gets pushed down, let's be honest, majority of those babies are going to low income, whatever. Yeah. And let's be honest, then once that baby is born, then when they actually have to start paying for it, they don't want to do shit. They want to cut benefits. Yeah. They want to cut Medicaid. They want to cut Medicare. They want to cut education. They want to cut welfare. They want to cut social safety net programs. They want to cut healthcare. Every single thing that's about protecting we got to protect every life, it's only convenient when they don't have to pay for it. But the second their ass has got to pay for it, now mysteriously this moral imperative, it's like, so you want the kid in the world, but then you don't want to pay for it because then you adopt if you're poor, it's your fault.
Well, and then on the flip side of that, to jump to Democrat hypocrisy, same thing. Yeah. They are okay with abortion.
What do you got for Democrats?
Let's move on. Same thing. They're okay with abortion, but again, that's their choice. But then you find someone who is a murderer and a rapist and has admitted to it, or it has, evidence beyond a reasonable doubt. I'm not talking about people that are declaring their innocence and there might be some evidence that was suppressed 30 years ago. Yeah. I'm talking people that like a Charles Manson we talked about earlier. Charles Manson was on death row, and then when California reversed the death penalty, he got commuted to life, and then now they have death penalty again. But his stayed life sentence, which is weird. But someone like Charles Manson, never in doubt, even though he didn't really kill anybody, but he was the mastermind. That is a motherfucker that deserved to die. Yeah. You will have people that will tell you, no, he's blah blah blah, and a lot of them are from the left. And I'm going, so let me get this straight. And again, it doesn't matter what you believe as far as a boy, this person, a child is not really a child, because I understand that. But I'm just saying, but then you're going to turn around and tell me that the worst of the worst of the worst person has a right to not only live after they have ruined multiple people's lives. Okay, there are people out there whose parents are not coming home anymore, their brothers or sisters or their children, because they have been murdered in cold blood by some crazy person. All right. But then they're going to have a life on the taxpayer's dime on top of it. I'm sorry. I might make me a bad person, but if I was running things, we would probably have a historic number of executions.
What's interesting, you don't really hear people talking about the death penalty anymore. It doesn't seem like it's like an issue anymore. It
takes 20 or 30 freaking years and again, I'm not trying to sound like an old school, eye for an eye person, but if we're going to do the death penalty, I just don't understand how we're fighting. It seems like we're fighting more. Some people, and again, I know I'm going to get a lot of hate about this as well, but it seems like we're fighting more for murderers. I mean, bad people than we are for I guess unborn babies, but again, I still think abortion should remain legal. Just it's just my personal.
Well, think about it. It's kind of like it's a lot of things just don't make like. So one of the things I pulled up was that the left is really big. So they really lasered in on Alabama has like this new abortion restriction where like they're pretty much shutting down all the Planned Parenthoods, and so they'll rail against them for you're not following the letter of the law. But then in New York and Illinois, up until a certain line, we're allowing late term abortion. So it's like, all right, well,
real quick with the Alabama thing. Is just for the record, for those of you who don't know, that Planned Parenthood doesn't just perform abortions. Mm-hmm. They perform a lot of other services for women. So when you shut down Planned Parenthood, you're not just shutting down. I understand what you're trying to do, but there's a lot of other things that women need. So like women that going into Planned Parenthood that might not even be pregnant. Yeah. They might be going, and people are yelling stuff at them and picking them and calling them baby killer. They might not even be pregnant. They might be going in to get an exam. I don't know what all they do.
Well, the best was like when
that's just the most ridiculous thing.
Well, the best is when Republicans shut it down, a lot of the funding. Well, then those very same people that used to get their women's surgery now are going to the ERs, charging double the amount to Medicaid. Right. It's costing us more.
Well, that's like a movie theater showing a really terrible movie. It doesn't matter what the movie is, just a really socially unacceptable movie, and then you go there because you're gonna protest this. This is terrible. And then you start yelling at every single person that walks the movie theater. And you're like, wait a minute. I'm going to see Ernest Goes to Space. I'm not here to see Hitler was the greatest movie. No, I'm going to see Dumb and Dumber Part 4. But people, no, you're not. You're going in there.
And this is the problem, is that when people will justify, it's at an angle, right? Well, it's like, we don't want to give them the money because like it's actually funding abortion. So even though 60% of the women there are just getting their health because they can't afford it, and so they can actually have maybe a healthier baby. But we don't want to fund it with 40. So all right, fuck it, right?
Well, people like this, they want more gun control because kids are getting shooting up schools, and we need to keep the kids safe, and we get to keep kids are dying, and it's terrible. I have kids. Mm-hmm. Oh, but a late term abortion. Oh yeah, that shit's cool. Like you're like, wait a minute now.
Well, it's like reverse of the Republicans. Where Republicans care so much about.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, it's the opposite.
It's such a high button issue for, and that's why I always compare abortion and death penalty. It's funny because both sides can be kind of hypocritical. Again, whatever you believe, that's cool. Like you're entitled to your opinion. I'm not trying to change anyone's mind, and not that I could anyway. I mean, let's be honest, but. Well, you asked me what I think is hypocritical. Those two, death penalty and abortion, is kind of funny because some are like, no.
Now the thing is, at least now the one thing though with Democrats, at least they're consistent across the board. They're against the death penalty. They're against now they believe in right to choose. Right? It's not abortion. It's I believe a woman has a right to choose. So it's not I'm killing a baby. It's I have a right to choose.
And
right?
I think they do have a right to choose.
I totally agree. I think they have a right to choose. But
it should stay legal. I'm just saying. But my personal feelings on it, and again, it's because I think it's partially because I'm a father. So it's like it's just hard for me to like agree with that. And again, I'm not judging anyone that's had an abortion or is going to get an abortion or anything like that. Me personally, that's not. I don't know.
So here's a couple other ones to kind of wrap things up here, right?
Sure. Sorry, I didn't go off no. It's a big issue. It's a big
issue. It is. So a big one. So when Trump and every other guy. Pretty much, was sexually harassing women, whatever. It was the end of the world, right? Bill Clinton, on the other hand, that shit was at an angle. It's cool, right? And even years later when Hillary was running and they were nailing Trump for it, it was like the very same people that were knocking Trump. It's like they were conspicuously silent on Clinton, who was convicted multiple times. He was a serial guy. At least you don't hear shit now that Trump has been in office. I mean, I like the guy, but you don't hear him about like fucking girls again. This guy can get it up at all. But it's like once again, it's tough to take it seriously. We were talking on the show last week of how a lot of the feminists, they'll sit there and nail every guy for being a pedophile, which they should be fucking.
Oh, absolutely.
But conspicuously silent when girls. Female teachers are the ones doing it. Once again, conspicuously silent. Right.
There was a teacher the other day that she got probation.
A principal the other day.
She got probation.
I know. Like
she slept with an underage. He was like 16 or something like that. She was like 39.
And I'm not saying any one of them is right, but it's like treat it equal.
Now, you and I are 40, okay? If you and I slept with a 16-year-old girl tomorrow, Do you and we get caught?
Probably going to jail.
Multiple times. Probably.
There is a double standard,
well,
right?
I'll tell you right now, you and I aren't getting probation.
Right. But the thing is though, if we were to say that to a feminist, they're going, well, we've done it so much. But it's not even worth arguing.
Well,
but all it is pointing out
I know.
the hypocrisy of it was Clinton got it passed, but Trump didn't. And it's like, well, how do you take you seriously? How authentic can you be when you are yourself making exceptions if your people did it? And this is like getting away from like the less hot button topic, but illegal immigration. Trump is getting a lot of fucking flack for it, but Democrats don't want to admit that Obama deported more illegal immigrants than Trump.
Right. That's like a little known fact.
Yeah, I mean, like
nobody knows what to make of that.
So up in 2012 alone, he deported 409,000 people.
Yeah, and you hate to see. Even as a Trump supporter, I don't enjoy seeing people get deported.
No.
The only people I would actually enjoy seeing people get deported are bad people. I'm talking people that are felons, people that have done bad things. Like, those are the people you want to see go. You don't want to see the hardworking people, the family people. You don't want to see families split up like that. Like, most normal people are not going to take joy in that. Yes, there's going to be some of those, yeehaw, yeah, get them all on. You're going to have that. You're going to have those people that are just racist and xenophobic. Unfortunately, those are just that you're going to have that.
It's just the irony of mysteriously where were Democrats on that issue back then, right? So it was, and that's where it's like, and once again, Democrats introduced a nuclear option under the George W. Bush term, meaning like you didn't need a supermajority because they were trying to figure out ways how to maintain power when they lost the House and the Senate. But then when the Republicans threatened to do the same, Democrats screamed bloody murder. It's the end of the world. It's fucking awful, right? Celebrities, right? They're the eco warriors, telling us how we shouldn't eat animals, we shouldn't do this. But it's like, you guys are driving your sports cars, your fucking private jets, your yachts, your McMansions, where you will use more waste and electricity than anybody else. But yet,
remember Al Gore?
Remember
Al Gore?
He
had a documentary. He wrote a book about going green in the environment, and we're in trouble, and blah blah blah. And it turned out what?
Yeah.
His Tennessee estate used more power.
It's absurd.
In the next, like 22 or 24 homes combined or something.
It's
insane.
like
come on,
and
Al.
it's just the hypocrisy of just like, you wonder why people don't take you seriously. Two more, and then we'll wrap it up.
Yeah.
Here. It's just fucking retarded, man. So Antifa, right? The organization that stands to be anti-fascism, right? Fascism is literally the rule of power, rule and having power through the use of fear and aggression. And then what are the tactics they use to get people to
black ski masks?
They use fear and aggression. It's just, you can't,
and they will beat the shit out of you.
You can't make
if you're in the wrong place at the wrong time.
You can't make this shit up.
Hey, some of the people they beat the shit out of, some of them.
Oh yeah,
deserve
fucking
it.
Nazis.
The fucking
right? I fucking
Nazis,
hate Nazis, right?
I will side with Antifa versus the Nazis all fucking day long.
Yeah.
All right. I might look like a Nazi. I'm not.
Oh yeah.
All right. I will go with Antifa all day long. But when you start beating on people who just their only crime is that they don't agree with your maybe socialist or anarchist beliefs, shit.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's whatever. You can't go and shut down traffic and not have people pissed off at you.
Once again, it's just the irony, right? The irony of you can't make this shit up. And then
then they wonder why. Then people wonder why people aren't more involved in the political process. Oh, why don't you vote, dude? Have you seen?
Yeah.
They will beat the shit out of you if you choose the wrong candidate. Like fuck.
So like, all right, and then this has happened this weekend where Bernie Sanders supporters stormed Bernie Sanders' stage, women that were topless, dumping like blood covered milk on them, going, "Don't eat animals, stop doing all this." I mean, they want to shut all of it down and like shut dairy farmers down. And the very same Democratic Party that is about this uber wealthy and the government is destroying the regular person. And it's like, so without any warning, you want to basically destroy family-owned farms, no transition period. You want to destroy the little guy because you don't agree with drinking milk when over half the country likes it. It's all about don't my body, my decision. Fuck it. If I want to eat a steak and drink milk with it, I will drink the shit out of it. I had a steak this weekend and it was delicious.
So it's like the students from PCU.
Yes.
Remember the movie PCU?
Yes, I know. And so, all right, this is the last one. This is the only Trump one I'm going to do just because it is the most mind-boggling one. Trump's this fixation on how much Obama golfed. I mean, I'm talking
He's
every
obsessed with
single
everything Obama did.
literally.
He
He
cannot
fucking
stop.
he hates Obama. He is intimidated by the guy. And literally he literally said, "Can you believe that with all those problems and difficulties facing the US, President Obama spent the day playing golf, right?" Literally, Trump has like, what was it, 3 times more times being on the golf course than, I mean, he's even lied about being on the golf course when he was on the golf course. That is just the most absurd thing where he literally was like, I'm not going to even have time. I'm going to be too damn busy. And then what did he do?
You would be funny if one of these candidates now, like Bernie or Biden or whoever, and maybe they have said it, came out and said, you know what? Guess what, folks? I've got good news for you. If I'm elected president, I don't even fucking golf. Like,
Yeah.
so you don't have to worry about that.
I know. It's just, and this is where it's like, it's not about going, my guy is better than yours, because that's all this thing does. I'm better. Listen, they're all fucking hypocrites, all right? I'm going to start a new rule.
I'm a hypocrite.
Yeah.
You're
I'm
a hypocrite.
I know I'm a hypocrite, right?
Yeah.
I don't pretend it. But here's the deal. It's going to be a simple rule, simple wrap-up. It's the same fucking rules for everybody. If it's wrong for your guy to do it or it's wrong for the other guy to do it, it's wrong for everybody. You can't fucking change the goddamn rules. I mean, I know Democrats love doing this whole thing of, well, we're going to take something that somebody did 50 years ago and define it by current standards. The Republicans will take somebody who did something right now and then try to define it from 50 years ago. Guess what? If it's wrong now, it's fucking wrong. If it wasn't wrong 50 years ago, it probably was wrong, but who knew? Because it was a fucking culture, right? Wrong is wrong. It should be the same set of standards. You can't go, it's at an angle. Report it for what things fucking are, right?
They need to go back when they were just trying to dig up dirt and see if the president once used to smoke pot back in the 60s.
You know what?
Remember that would have been like a scan. Wow. Remember they asked Bill Clinton, did you inhale? And that was like a big thing. Can you imagine that now being a big thing?
Dude, I mean, it's like, it's crazy.
Finding out if Bernie or someone like that smoked a joint. That wouldn't even be a story.
It's like, it's just, you know what? There's so many different things, but just the simple fucking message is just fucking like stop trying to like define things in different ways. Wrong is wrong. If your guy did it, it's wrong. My guy did it wrong. Stop justifying it. Stop saying why my guy's better and different. No, if you had one set of morals and standards for a Democrat, you have to have the same, because the result is what we have now. Hyperpolarization, people justifying why it's okay to do bad things. People just selectively, total confirmation bias, just throwing out anything that says that it's bad and only paying attention. And then the media jumps on it. And then because of that political tribalism, the listeners will then follow into it, and then they'll follow it out. It has to stop. And it's going to take a politician, instead of going, well, they did this to us. Well, it's like, no, going, I don't give a fuck if they did that. Wrong is wrong. I might not get reelected, and they might outplay me because I'm being a little bit of a bitch and I'm not playing hardball. But you know what? I'm gonna be honest with the American public. I'm gonna do what's right, even if that means me losing office. Because the thing is, it's not about staying in office. It's about doing what's best for the people. If that's what's best for the people, if Trump tomorrow were to say that, I would be a fan. I would have so much respect for him, but I haven't seen it.
I'm going to go on record right now. I make a bold prediction.
That he's not going to say that.
I think that in either 2024 or in 28, you're going to see Jeff Bezos or someone like him run as an independent for president and self-fund his campaign. The man who just gave $10 billion of his own money to help, quote, save the planet. I think he's going to have a self-funded campaign in 24 or 28, and I think he's going to run as an independent. I think he's going to want to break free. Yeah. I don't even know anything about the guy. I don't know much about him, so I couldn't.
I don't think is he an American? I don't know if he is or not.
Oh, is he Canadian?
I don't know if he's an American. I have no idea. For some reason, I don't think he is American.
Let's find out.
Yeah.
Man, maybe. Well, there goes that thing.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
Damn.
I don't know if Bezos is American. I know Elon Musk is, Swedish or something like that?
Let's say right now, Bezos.
Is he American?
He's an American internet and aerospace
entrepreneur, he is American,
media proprietor, and investor. Mm-hmm. He's best known as the founder, chief executive officer, and president of Amazon. So he's not actually from the Amazon, Mike. He's from America.
But here's the reason why I don't think that will happen, because he'd have to give up every single one of his shares and stocks in his company.
He's worth $150 billion.
That would be...
wait, he added another 1.8 billion.
Yeah. In one day.
Oh, wait.
One day.
And the second, his company is worth $1 trillion.
Yeah.
Okay, so anyway,
he would have to give up everything. That's the thing, though. He would have to give up all of
Well,
he
wouldn't give up his money. I mean, yeah, you're right.
He'd give up all his stock, all his controlling.
But think about it, though. For guys and it might not be him. It could be someone the equivalent. Like, we're getting billionaires and trillionaires now. But I think the next election or the election after, eventually you're going to see someone like him or him. And they're going to run as an independent. They're going to take kind of what we're talking about, a little bit of this, and just say, listen, here's what I believe. I'm free of any, candidates or any Republican or Democrat,
I think
national committee.
I think if someone would have done it, they would have done it. And the reason why they won't is that the way the Electoral College is set up now, you wouldn't get the delegates. They don't have to vote for using it. There's no rules right now for what would happen. So that's the one reason why I think that's why Trump and whoever else is running as a Democrat or Republican is because you would have to completely change the Electoral College to get elected, because the bottom line is you could even win all the states. And my dad and I talked about this with Ross Perot, is that if you evenly split it, you're not going to get to enough of Electoral College votes, which means it goes to the Congress, which means then they would vote for whoever's in power. So if like an independent, say an independent ran right now.
Well, you were talking about Civil War.
Mm-hmm.
And what would be the spark? Maybe something like that would be.
Can you imagine that's not necessarily cheating.
I don't mean like Jeff Bezos just winning the general election, because Hillary won the general election.
You got to win the Electoral College. So you got to look at if you split it three ways.
Imagine if Bezos or someone like him came as a third party and they were head and shoulders more than the Republican and Democrat candidate. I'm talking head and shoulders, like not landslide, but like enough to be like, okay, American people have spoken and they definitely want this guy. Not just he squeaks by, but enough to where if you don't vote for him in the Electoral College, like you're going to have some real.
But the thing is, though, even if the Electoral College did, like we tried, like even when they said Perot, he had a pretty large lead. If you look at the states that he was leading in, there would have been not one of the candidates would have gotten close to the 274 or whatever it is to win, which means then constitutionally it goes to the Congress then.
Yeah, I know.
Congress then decides.
Did you add up the electoral votes? Did you add that up on your Texas Instruments calendar?
I did, yeah. But that's the thing. You'd have to win. You'd have to landslide it to get the electoral, and even then, it's like
that's what I'm saying. I'm talking in theory, though. I'm just saying
in theory, and that's why I think in theory you can play all the games that you want. That's why ultimately it's why Bernie, who's an independent, runs as a Democrat. It's why Trump, who's really an independent, ran as a Republican.
I get it.
It's the way if the system changes, though, it's different. But until the system changes, it would be easier just to run as a Democrat and just take it over, which is what Trump did and what Bernie's doing.
I'll tell you right now, real quick, if the Democrats, something doesn't change in their party, they are being taken over by socialists.
I mean, I think it's already kind of
That's
done.
what I'm saying.
It's already.
I don't care if you're for socialism or not. It's just, it's weird because the socialists have their own party.
But the thing is, technically speaking, it needs to happen, and he needs to get his ass kicked, because then that will make all the kids go, they probably won't vote again because they wouldn't be able to handle the defeat. They wouldn't vote again. I mean, the best thing that could happen to the Democrats if they elect Bernie is get their asses handed to them, because it would not even like a close. I'm talking if Bernie is the nominee, I don't think it's going to be close. I think he will get the floor wiped with him, and I like Bernie.
I do too. He's just so far left.
He's too far left. He's uncompromised.
Like you said, and even though as divided as this country is, the order to win the White House, you got to be more in the middle.
Put it this way: when a guy refuses. His answer to the question is, how in the hell are you going to get this passed? And his answer is, well, it's not about it. It's about what is right. It's like, no, it's about what can pass. It doesn't matter what is right.
Well, when you hear AOC say, how are you going to, someone asks her, how are you going to pay for this? And she'll say something like, well you just pay for it.
Yeah.
The fuck does that mean?
And he's unwavering with it.
What does that mean? I mean, that sounds great in theory, but.
Yeah. Yeah. So, bottom line, folks.
All right.
Same rules for everybody. It doesn't matter. If it's bad for one, it's bad for all. Because really, if you keep doing this hypocritical bullshit, it's your fault there's a revolution. Sorry, I said it. It's your fault. On that note, everyone, Bill, you have anything to add to that one?
Man, I think I said too much. I'm just worried about.
Oh, we probably did. Yeah. But I mean, no, I don't think so. I mean, because we were just calling out hypocrisy. We weren't saying one side's right or wrong. We were simply pointing out where they're hypocritical.
We also call our own hypocrisy out, though, too. I mean, we're hypocrites.
I don't think we're hypocrites because, like, we're independents.
Well, just because we acknowledge we're hypocrites doesn't mean we're not hypocrites. We're just not. We don't have our heads up our ass so much that we're just like, well, no, it's different.
The only thing I would say is that because we're not Republicans or Democrats, we don't have to flip flop on what we think is right or wrong. Wrong is wrong. We don't think like one is okay. If it's wrong when one person does it, we're pretty emphatic that the definitions that we're using are that. So I think really in all actuality, man, like what did we really say that was hypocritical? All we're doing is pointing out what each side is doing that's kind of hypocritical and fucked up. We pointed out exactly where they've reversed course or why it's messed up. That's the only thing we did.
I'm not happy that Andrew Yang dropped out. I know why he did, but I'm not happy about it. I was liking him.
People should have voted for him then.
Well,
you know, he has no neck.
You have to actually ask him some questions in the debate so people can know what he wants to say. You can't just ignore him like they did.
I don't know.
Every debate, just ignore him. They go to fucking Sleepy Joe. Blah 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 blah. Dude, way to finish fucking fifth.
Yeah. But in the same breath, though, Amy Klobuchar, who literally has gotten almost no time, was able to make people. She was able to say something in a way that people understood. Yeah. His whole thing about everyone getting $1,000 is fucking stupid because by the time you give all the people that money and then inflation gets raised as a result in the corporations, that $1,000 became $3.
Well, I was gonna take my $1,000 out. I was just gonna take it to the casino every month and double it because it's not gambling when you know you're gonna win. So, I mean,
I thought it was stupid, but On that note, everybody, let's get the fuck out of here. All right, I'm Michael Devine. I'm America's counselor.
And I am not.
You are not. But you're the Armchair QB. You are allowed calling it like you see it. I'm just more clinical with calling people out because that's what I do for a job. Tell people the truth. Reflect back the reality that they just so desperately don't want to hear. But usually I get like 8, 10, 12 sessions to slowly give you truth. I get an hour, a little over an hour to give it to you. So that's cool, though. Hopefully no one's feelings are hurt.
You're clinical, but I am psychic.
You are.
But then again, I already knew that.
That's true. And you can get more of that psychic, non-clinical, unabashed opinion on the Armchair Quarterback on the 614 Radio Network.
All
day. And this is Gray Matters Radio. You can get us every single week on the 614 Radio Network.
Tell us how we're right. Tell us how we're wrong.
I don't give a fuck as long as you just tell us. That's all. That's all I give a shit about. Have a discussion about it. I love it. I welcome it.
Be sure to let Mike know how that Bill Reed guy he's really right all the time, and Mike's just really wrong. Don't be afraid to let him know that either.
They always just yell at me.
Well, then I don't have to make up these fake profiles on Facebook that bash you all the time.
That's true. Yeah.
You would think that some of these names that I came up with, you would have picked out right away, like George Glass. You didn't pick up on that one, did you?
No, I didn't.
Not even close.
Murray Tenenbaum. No, it's all good. All right, everyone. Remember, next time someone asks you, you're a Democrat, you're a Republican, you add your blue to say, well, fuck that noise, everyone. My ass is gray. All right, you be good to each other. We will see you guys, as always, next week. You be good to each other. Peace.